Okie dokie. Some weird lighting going on my face here. That's all right. See if I get anybody. Hello, person that is in here. I'm trying an early morning stream. Not sure how it's gonna go. I forget how to do all of this. Can't I see who's in the chat somehow? Participants. There we go. Oh, I'm the only participant. Okay. Well, if anybody else is in here, type something.
Boo!
Keep it down, bud.
It's me, everyone.
All right, there he is. No one's in here. Don't
It's
worry.
me.
He's got a banana.
Hey.
No one's in here.
I did all the work. He doesn't do anything.
No.
It's all me. I'm the man behind the curtain. It's me, everyone. Ah!
You're only talking to one participant, and that's the Bored Cyborg.
What's up, Bored Cyborg?
What's up? Okay, not going so well this morning. All right, where are we?
Just start it?
Yeah. I mean, it is early. I probably shouldn't have done it this
Yeah, no one is up. Dude, people who tune into streams wake up at like 11. So, unfortunately.
Well, I think I'm just going to record it anyway.
Yeah, and then
because I have an idea for a video, and then people will watch it later.
Hey, go back. It's me, everyone.
Ruining it. There's somebody here now. Nope.
Damn it.
What does this mean? Oh, there we go. OC Floydian, what up? I know you.
What up?
That's my brother. He's going to do his thing. Hey, dude. What's good, man? Well, we got one person in here. Oh, we got two people in here. Let's go. Softball Junkie, what's up? Hi, Mike. I'm in here, but I have a bad habit of reading your comments out loud. I don't know if that's bad or good. Fortunately, I've got to do some dad and granddad stuff. No problem at all. That is far more important than an early morning Labor Day stream. Oh, we got 5 people. We got 5 people. But I'll catch the replay. Cool. I'm planning to do a little thingamajig. I'm kind of making a video, but I'm doing it live. I'm trying something different. I'm going to be compiling a list of movies, action movies from 82 to 92. Okay, very specific. And I'm going to pick my favorite American action film, my favorite Hong Kong action film, and my favorite Japanese action film. And if I don't have a Japanese one, I'm just going to do international action films. Oh my God. That's my retarded brother in the background. I should have done this in the bathroom. The only place I'd get privacy.
Where you spend most of your time, too.
Yeah. All right. Great topic. Thank you. It's very unique to me. Nobody else on the internet is going to be making a video like this. And I don't even know if it's going to work. I want to see your thingamajig. Don't worry.
I'm going to go downstairs. You need anything?
Oh, my God. No, I don't. He's just doing all the things. My fucking viewership is dropping precipitously. All right, so I don't know. I don't know when to start. I guess I should start now. Well, okay. But there's only a couple people in here. Not sure what I'm doing. All right. All right. Let's wait till there's 5, and then I'm going to start. 5 people.
Hey, everyone.
That's my brother.
I'm famous. I made it. What are you gonna do today?
I'm gonna make a video.
What kind of video?
I don't know. I just described it.
Oh, okay, I wasn't listening.
That's good. You're not a part of this, so
What?
that works out well.
I canceled all my plans for this.
Hello. Can everybody hear me okay? The one person that's in here. Because my mic thing isn't really moving much. Hello. All right. We're just going to go for it. Fuck it.
Make sure they can hear you.
All right. How do I screen share? That's the other question. I want to screen share. Anybody know?
Screen share?
Yeah, I want them to see what I'm doing on the screen. I guess they don't have to. Moderation activity.
We have a cat. We have a kitty.
Mike is fine. Good. Your bro let his hair grow out since last I saw him.
A little bit.
A little bit. He's trying to take after his bigger brother.
Never.
His bigger, smarter, more handsome brother.
Absolutely no ways am I doing that.
So much more handsome.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Than him.
No.
I thought I already did all this. Okay. Screen share. There we go. Share screen. So, all right. For the few people that are in here, do you want to see? So I'm going to be compiling this list with the help of Letterboxd. Do you want to see the Letterboxd screen, like the screen of my computer, or do you want to see me for some reason? I'm not sure how I want to do it. As you can tell, I didn't think this out very much. I just wanted to do a live stream. So, and the more I thought about it, the less of a chance there would be that I did it. So I just got on and started. Either is fine. All right, let's see if this even works. Share screen. Okay, so now, oh, I'm actually on the screen. Oh, that's perfect.
Whoa, that's cool.
Sweet. Sweet. So when I do this, now I'm confused. No, that can't happen. Okay. Don't know. All right, so when I'm actually doing stuff on this, you will see it. Is that right? So let's click on Star Trek II Wrath of Khan and see what happens. Yeah. Well, that's swell. And I'm right down in the bottom right. But if I plan anything, that wouldn't be Mike. Yeah, that's very true. I just kind of throw shit at the wall, as they say. All right, so what I've got, guys, excuse me. I've got Letterboxd here, and I've got all the films that I have watched, sorted by the highest rating. Well, actually, my highest rating. So it'll go with the highest rated films here. I've got the year 1982. Why start with 1982? Well, it appears to me that 1982 things start rolling for international action cinema. So you get like First Blood, starts the ball rolling with Stallone's kind of action films. You're in like the height of, or maybe the beginning of Chuck Norris's reign. You have Eddie Murphy. I'm just looking here, Schwarzenegger. You've got a bunch of cool stuff going on in 82, my favorite year for cinema. And so we're going to start with 1982. And you'll see as we go further, there's more. I see more and more films as the years go on in a given year. I think it's literally probably exponential, oddly. But in 1982, we've got a bunch of movies. Things like Tron, I'm going to, if I have to consider that an action movie, I will. I mean, it is an action movie, but it's obviously steeped in genre stuff. It's very unique, very different. So let's start. Let's go with 1982. The first pick for my favorite American action film is going to be kind of doing this, as we go. I'm going to decide as we go. So it's got to be First Blood. It's got to be Stallone's First Blood, with a close second for Conan the Barbarian. It's tough between those two. Let's see. And then what I plan to do at the end of the 10 years, I'm going to add up my favorite action films from each year and see which country wins, America, Hong Kong, or Japan. Now, Hong Kong and China were separated at this point. There were still mainland China productions, but there weren't nearly as many as in Hong Kong. The trade-off, basically, Hong Kong was under British rule for 100+ years, and in '97, the British kind of pass off the rule to China, and that's when the film industry starts to change. So you have really the golden era, in my opinion, up to like 97, 98. There were still great films getting made after that. But then they got more, as time has gone on the last 20 years, they've been more propagandistic, jingoistic, which I'm okay with because America had its sort of run with that. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go with First Blood. It's just such a quintessential action film. Really kicks off Stallone as an action hero. Rocky starts that, and I do consider the Rocky films action films, but they're not full-fledged action films. They're action films within a sports drama sort of structure. So let's see. So it's going to have to be First Blood, which has like a Christmas theme. It's ultra violent, especially for the time. It's controversial even now when you watch it. You're like, holy shit, this guy is like, attacking cops, and well, the cops back him into a corner, granted, but it's pretty ahead of its time in that sense. So I love First Blood. We'll take a look at it here. Take a look at the director, Ted Kotcheff.
Personally, I'd go with Happy Gilmore.
Kind of an action movie, but nowhere near the 10 years we're talking about. So Ted Kotcheff did Weekend at Bernie's, which is I love that film. One of my favorite comedies of the 80s. Uncommon Valor, which I haven't seen. Wake in Fright, I haven't seen. North Dallas 40, I haven't seen. So he's got a bunch of flicks that I actually have not seen. This, of course, was written partially by Sylvester Stallone, based on a book by David Morrell. 1982 classic film. Can't go wrong with that. So let's go back here. Next up, we are going to choose. Hello, all the new people in here. We've got 7 people. Hello, everybody. I am in the midst of a video. You can either catch up on the replay or kind of pick up on what I'm doing as I go along. Essentially, from 1982 to 92, I'm picking my favorite action film from 3 different countries: America, Japan, Hong Kong. And then at the end, I'm going to figure out which country has my favorite action films from this period overall. So I already picked First Blood, not Last Blood. First Blood from 1982 for the American one, Stallone. Next up is Hong Kong. So what is my favorite Hong Kong film from 1982? It was a great year for Hong Kong cinema. It was a great year for cinema in general. So I've got Human Lanterns here, which is an action film. It is also a horror film. I want to say it leans more horror, but Shaw Brothers Hong Kong action or horror films always had some sense of action, almost always. Not every single movie. I could think of Hex. I could think of a few movies that don't have action in them, martial arts. 5 Element Ninjas, though, is going to have to be my favorite. 5 Element Ninjas is Changche, with a stacked cast of pretty much a bunch of the Venom actors: Wong Lik, Lo Mang, Ricky Chang. This movie stands out because of its color schemes. Each Element Ninja wears a unique color drab, basically. So you have like these bright colored ninjas hopping out of, busting out of the swamp and out of the woods and like disguising themselves as trees. It is so memorable. It's so unique and so much fun. And obviously, it's a Changche film from the 80s. These films are going to have some of the best action choreography of all time. I always say to people, if they want to know how I compare and contrast Hong Kong cinema, action cinema, from American action cinema in the 80s, I always felt like Hong Kong cinema was about 10 years ahead of, if not more, ahead of the Americans. So you wouldn't be getting stuff like Five Element Ninjas in terms of choreography until the 90s, maybe even late 90s with like The Matrix. There's just nothing quite like the choreography in the old Hong Kong films in the 80s. America was doing a very different thing. We were all about brute strength and, you know, shirtless actors, bulging muscles, whereas Hong Kong was so much more elegant, so much more technical in their choreography. And so, yeah, Five Element Ninjas, I mean, I think I might, I'm not going to even say until I'm done with all three countries what my favorite is from those three. So we're going to put Five Element Ninjas as my favorite 1982 Hong Kong film. I love that movie. It is fantastic. So the thing with Japan is that there's going to be a lot of anime because that was really, there weren't many action films outside of the anime genre in Japan in the 80s and early 90s. And to be honest, that's what I gravitate towards. I love the anime. I love the anime from the 80s. Some of my favorite stuff, early to late 80s to early 90s is kind of my era. So Gongxi, good to see you again as well. Thank you for stopping in. I am doing a weird kind of video here. I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to continue on because if I don't, this will take 17 years. 1982. All right. So I might not have many choices between what my favorite Japanese action film from 1982 is. And it looks like I only have one. All right. So I was afraid I was going to run into this, but it's a good one. Space Adventure Cobra, the movie. This was based on a manga. Of course, most of these anime were based on a manga. It was also based on a TV series or an OVA series, I believe. Forgive me, guys. I'm going off the top of my head with all this stuff. But if you haven't seen Space Adventure Cobra, you are missing out as an action fan, as a genre fan. Just put to the side that it's an animated film. I know there are still some people out there that when you say an animated film, especially Americans, we think cartoons. This is not a cartoon. This is a very adult film with violence, with nudity, if I remember correctly, or at least some suggestive stuff going on. Obviously, it was anime in the 80s, so you had, you know, side boobs and cleavage all over the place. But Space Adventure Cobra is an awesome movie, and what it stands out to me with this film, it's directed by a filmmaker named Osamu Tezuka, who I will be talking about again. He's got a few great action films in the 80s, anime style. And what stands out with his work is how unique each frame of animation is. There's always something going on, very dynamic shots. There's always movement happening. What's the word for sakuga? I think it's sakuga. Sakuga is a word in Japanese which signifies in an anime when the animation steps up. Most of the time in anime, you have a few frames moving here and there, very simple to keep the budgets down, especially in the 80s with the OVA era. And what you would have is these incredible frames of animation called sakuga. They would call it sakuga when it's like tons of different frames going on at one time, and it looks so much different than your general, you know, few frame shot. And Space Adventure Cobra is definitely known for that, but it also has, in each frame, it has these sparkles and these spiral shapes and just these colorful little touches all over the frame, and it's just so dynamic, so much fun. So check out Osamu Daisaki's Space Adventure Cobra. This is a nearly perfect film in my book. Here's a little plot summary. Cobra, a notorious space pirate, is enlisted by bounty hunter Jane to rescue her sister, a strange being known as Crystal Bowie. Crystal Bowie, kind of like David Bowie. Actually, the main character kind of looks like David Bowie, so there you go. But then finds himself drawn into a complex struggle over the fate of a mysterious wandering planet. It's weird. It's inspired by Star Wars and Blade Runner and Mad Max. It's insane. It's awesome. You must check this movie out. It's nearly perfect, in my opinion. All right. Next up, well, I believe that's me. Let's see what we've got here. We're going to go to 1983. 1983, sorted by my rating. And you know what? I'm going to include genre films as action films. As long as I consider them action films, I'm going to include things like Star Wars or whatever it might be. I'm not saying Star Wars is my favorite action film from Return of the Jedi is my favorite from 83. We're going to have a look-see here. And to be honest, for 1982, I would say the winner out of the American film First Blood, Hong Kong 5 Element Ninjas, and Japan Space Adventure Cobra, I'm going with Hong Kong. I think 5 Element Ninjas is the best film of the three. I'm giddy even thinking about it because I want to rewatch it now. It is such a fun, it's such a fun movie. When you see ninjas hopping out of trees and hopping out of sand and like all these unexpected places and these incredibly choreographed action sequences, it is just too much fun. So definitely check that one out. So Hong Kong winning so far. America, Hong Kong, Japan. All right, so for 1982, my favorite American film, action film, that is. Let's see what we've got. We've got Scarface. Would I consider Scarface an action film? I'm not sure. Same thing with Return of the Jedi. I mean, these are fantasy sci-fi films with action in them. They are certainly action-adventure films. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to try to do more straightforward action films without the genres tacked onto them. Scarface is a gangster film with some action sequences, some explosive action sequences, granted, but not a full-out action flick. So what I'm going to do for my favorite American action flick from 83, it's going to be between Lone Wolf McQuade, Revenge of the Ninja. It's going to be between those two. So, you know what? I'm going to go with one of my favorite Chuck films, Lone Wolf McQuade. This is really the first Chuck Norris film that blew people away. This is where he gets a lot of the sort of the mythology that surrounds him. This has a scene in the beginning where he's on top of a mountain shooting bad guys with a machine gun, just spraying his machine gun back and forth in broad daylight, blocking out the sun, and nobody can hit him. Only he can hit the bad guys, and he does, and he eviscerates all of them. It's fantastic, and it really is one of those quintessential Chuck Norris scenes where he's invincible, stupidly invincible, like very obviously out in the open, but not getting hit. It's awesome. Lone Wolf McQuade is certainly, it has so many scenes. It's got the scene of him where he gets buried in his Jeep underground somehow. I forget exactly how that works. But he chug a beer and then he drives out of his prison somehow. It's ridiculous. There's so many great scenes in that movie. I love Lone Wolf McQuade. Steve Carver directed this. I've seen a couple other Steve Carver films. Eye for an Eye, which is an earlier Chuck Norris film. Pretty good. Look at that. Look at that dude. Steve Carver. Handsome devil. Lone Wolf McQuade. What else have I seen by him? River of Death. That's a good one. Yeah, you know, this guy made a bunch of 80s and early 90s action, DTV action films. So pretty cool. The archetypical renegade Texas Ranger wages war against the drug kingpin with automatic weapons. His wits in martial arts after a gun battle leaves his partner dead. All of this inevitably culminates in an martial arts showdown between the drug lord and the ranger, and involving the woman they both love. David Carradine, Chuck Norris. Let's see, L.Q. Jones. That's right, another familiar face in there. So yeah, it's kind of like a buddy cop kind of film too, which is neat. But yeah, Chuck Norris has really never been too much better. There's another film coming up, I'm sure, that I will talk about, but one of his best, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So, all right. Is everybody still awake? Okay. Next up, we got Hong Kong, my favorite film from Hong Kong, 1983. We've got The Holy Flame of the Martial World. We've got Project A, The Boxer's Omen. You have some great stuff here. Zoo Warriors of Magic Mountain, Duel to the Death, Xiu Tungxing, Ching Xiu Tung. Let's see. You've got some Italian stuff, Conquest here. That's more of a fantasy film. You got a lot of fantasy here. But, all right. Well, I'm going to go with, I got to go with Project A. In terms of a straight-up action film, this is one of the best. This has some of the craziest Jackie stunts, a couple stunts where he got really hurt. I know because I've read his biography. He has a glossary at the end of his biography, his first biography, where he just basically lists all of the bones in his body that he's broken. It's like over 100 bones that he broke. And a few of them were broken on Project A. Now, this is a Three Brothers film, one of the many films that the three brothers from the same school, Chinese opera school, starred in. So you have Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, Yuen Biao. Anytime you see Yun, like Corey Yun, there's a couple more Yuns out there. Yunhua, I want to say. That all came from the same, I think it was the Seven Little Brothers. So there was 7 of these young Chinese men who started in this opera school, and they all kind of broke into cinema. And the 3 that starred in a lot of movies together were Jackie Chan, Sammo, and Yuen Biao. And this is one of their best films. Late 19th century Hong Kong, the British may rule the land, but the pirates rule the waters. One Coast Guard officer, Dragon Ma, who is determined that his beloved Coast Guard will not be made a fool of. So yeah, so you have the Coast Guard, you have I think it's the Admiralty, and they're kind of facing off. Coast Guard versus pirates. Okay, that's what it is. One of the best action movies of the 80s, no doubt about it. I love Project A2 as well, not as much as the A1, I guess, the first one. I like how Letterboxd labels it as a family film. I suppose so. I mean, I guess. It's not like crazy brutal violence or anything. It's Jackie Chan style violence. So yeah, so that's going to be my favorite from Hong Kong. No doubt about it for 1983. Project A. I still need these on Blu-ray. They are getting a Blu-ray release that I looked up recently. It's coming out actually on 4K, the 2 of the films, but it's crazy expensive, and I don't really buy new Blu-rays anymore because it's too much. All right, so next up we've got, this is going to take a long time. I got to speed it up. Japan. All right, my favorite action film from Japan is going to be, we have Legend of the Eight Samurai. We have, that's about it. Okay, let's see. This is a good one. This is Kinji Fukasaku. This is, I want to say Sonny Chiba. It's kind of like a Star Wars kind of thing, or Seven Samurai kind of thing, where they recruit a bunch of people and fight the bad guys. Good flick. A lot of people have compared it to Star Wars. But my favorite Japanese action film, hands down, from 83 is Golgo 13, The Professional. Golgo 13. Osamu Dezaki, again, this is a guy who a year earlier does Space Adventure Cobra, so you could see why he's one of my favorite anime directors. Outside of the 80s, he does start to leave behind the action genre and branches out into more fantasy and slice of life kind of anime. Excuse me. But Golgo 13, what can I say? This starts out with a bang, with an assassination attempt. It really reminds me of The Killer. I wonder if John Woo borrowed a couple scenes from Golgo 13. Just very similar. The opening scene in Golgo 13 and one of the early scenes hits in The Killer. Very, very similar aesthetically. But The Professional is awesome. Again, I'll read the plot because a lot of these plots, conflate in my mind. It's been quite some time. I've seen over 4,000 movies. You got to give me a break on that. The tagline is, he shoots, he scores, he'll blow you away. Indestructible to his enemies and irresistible to women, the professional assassin codenamed Golgo 13 is shrouded in mystery and anonymity. If you're on his hit list, you're already dead. Always hired on his reputation alone, Gogol never breaks a contract. Can he survive the combined forces of the FBI, CIA, the Pentagon, U.S. Army? Yada, yada, yada. Yes, so Golgo 13 is Japan's answer to James Bond, no question about it. After Bond gets popular internationally, Gogo 13 becomes a manga. I'm pretty sure it was a manga first. And of course, we have some of the anime films. Later, we get anime OVAs. We get another film by Daizaki that I actually haven't seen called Queen Bee. We get an amazing anime show from, I want to say, around 2010, which, again, if you're a fan of action, if you're a fan of James Bond, you have to check out Gogo 13. He got a bunch of video games. I mean, this was a sensation in Japan. Not so much in America, but it did have its surges. So Gogo 13, the TV series 08 to 09. Another cool thing about Gogo 13 is in the late 70s, it gets a live action film starring Sonny Chiba, which is pretty good. I haven't seen it in many, many years, but it was pretty good. Junya Sato. This movie, actually 73, so early 70s. Ken Takamura. Okay, I thought Sonny Chiba was in this. What am I thinking of? Let's see. Oh, there were a couple different films. All right, I stand corrected. So one came out in 83, directed by Sato. And Yukio Noda does one in 77 with Sonny Chiba as Gogo 13. Okay, so this is the one I've seen. Again, it's been a long time, but another good one. So that's Gogo 13 in a nutshell. Guys, if you haven't seen The Professional, this is incredible. Again, nearly a perfect film. Awesome movie. It has the Italian mob in it. Gotta see it. It's got some, that's right. It's got some really early CG. I want to say some of the earliest CG. It's got a sequence in it that does not hold up well. But you can tell Daizaki was like, ooh, I got a new toy. I must use it. And the scene is very polygonal. It looks like the shittiest PlayStation 1 game you have ever seen in your life, or like a 3DO game or something, or Jaguar. It looks like Anus. I watched Borat last night, so I have like these Borat things in my head. All right, anyway, that's that. So Japan gets Gogo 13. Now I have to pick my favorite out of the three again. Oh, man. So America, Lone Wolf, Hong Kong, Project A, Japan, Gogo 13. That's an easy one for me. Going with Japan, Gogo 13. All right, so far America is in the dust. Hong Kong, Japan. All right, we're going to move to a new year. This is when it starts getting a bit beefier in terms of quantity of films that I've seen. And then by 85 and 86, we have, yeah, see, you could see it just gets more and more and more. All right, so, oh, this was a good year. 1984. All right, let's see. 1984, we've got U.S. You just lay down slow. Hong Kong. I'm going to abbreviate these now. All right. How's everybody doing? Is this is going decently, I'd say. Swimmingly. All right. 1984. My favorite film from the U.S. Action film. Now here I'm going to break my rules. Let's see. We've got The Terminator. We've got Temple of Doom, Beverly Hills Cop. We've got Karate Kid, Streets of Fire. Lots of great stuff. Missing in Action, Red Dawn. Just rewatched Red Dawn recently. Holds up pretty well. Fun movie. Well, that's an easy one. I'm going to have to go with The Terminator. And that's going to be tough to beat, boy. Terminator, obviously, I'm not going to talk about it much. One of the great science fiction action films of all time, James Cameron. It's a perfect 5. I don't give 5s out willy-nilly. Only a few hundred 5s in my life or in my movie watching career. We've got what is there to say about the Terminator? I'm not going to say much. Robot gets sent back in time, or a man gets sent back in time to protect Sarah Connor from a Terminator who is a robot that's sent back from the future, and he's sent to kill Sarah Connor because she gives birth to the Messiah, yada, yada, yada. I mean, one of the most influential films ever made. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Michael Biehn, Linda Hamilton, Lance Henriksen, Paul Winfield, Dick Miller in a great scene, Bill Paxton in a memorable scene. There's just so as a punk in the beginning with a buck naked Arnold Schwarzenegger. So we're gonna go with the Terminator. That's an easy one. And honestly, my Hong Kong pick is pretty damn easy too. There's a couple here. I've got Wheels on Meals, the Jackie Chan film, which gets better every time I watch it. I love that movie. It's fantastic. That's another Three Brothers film, Yin Bio, Sammo Hung, Jackie Chan. Then we have 8 Diagram Pole Fighter. Well, this is one of the best action films of all time. 1984, Lau Kar-leung, who is a prolific Hong Kong Shaw Brothers director. Some of my favorite films of all time. This guy makes so many great movies. I've given most of these movies a 4.5 or a 5. I mean, 36 Chamber of Shaolin, that's a 5-star film. Drunken Master 2, 5-star film. 8 Diagram Pole Fighter, 5-star film. There might not be any other directors that I've given as many high ratings to. Dirty Ho, 4.5. It's not about dirty hoes. It's not about prostitutes. It's a guy who's who's questionable in his scruples, and his name is Ho. So a funny name in America, but it has nothing to do with hoes. Heroes of the East, another nearly perfect film. Return to 36 Chamber, I haven't seen. Tiger on the Beat. This is less wuxia, more heroic bloodshed, and Lau Kar-leung does that just as well. My Young Auntie, another fantastic film. Early Jet Li. As you can see, this guy is a Shaolin Mantis. I've seen 11 of his 26 films, and they're all fantastic, but this might be his best. With the prolific, one of the greatest action film stars of all time, definitely one of the most underrated, Gordon Liu, also known as Liu Qiahui. I've seen a bunch of his films as well. He pops up in things like Kill Bill and a few Man with the Iron Fist, stuff like that. Sort of in the cultural milieu of like Wu-Tang and martial arts films. Gordon Liu is underrated. Iconic bald head, iconic intensity. You know, he just does he has these mannerisms and these movements that made him very unique. This is one of the best films, guys, of all time. So check it out. And one of the people I follow, not very impressed. That was the first review that popped up. So no question about it, it's going to 8 Diagram Pole Fighter. Also one of the coolest fucking titles for a movie ever, 8 Diagram Pole Fighter. And if you're a Wu-Tang fan, that'll sound familiar to you. U-God has a line where he says something about an 8 diagram pole. So next up, we've got Japan. And I'm going to include anything with Japan because it's going to be a little bit harder. I haven't seen as many Japanese films. So we've got Ninja 3, The Domination, which is more of an American action film because it's Furstenberg directing it. Yeah, it's the U.S. Exploiting, we'll say, Japanese culture. The Return of Godzilla, Karate Kid, another, American film exploiting, not in a bad way, Japanese culture. Okay, well, I guess it narrows down to just one film then, and that is The Return of Godzilla. That is my favorite action film, apparently, from this year. How did I not see any anime from this year? Very strange. All right, well, I need to brush up on my 1984 films. All right, so my favorite film from 1984, out of The Terminator from the U.S., 8 Diagram Pole Fighter, Hong Kong, Return of Godzilla, Japan. Oh, man. The Terminator or 8 Diagram Pole Fighter? I am not sure. It's got to be The Terminator. Who am I kidding? Nostalgia be damned. It's The Terminator. So right now we have an even dead heat. Hong Kong was 82. Japan was 83. 84 was the U.S. So that's pretty cool. All right, 1985. Let me get all my stuff set here. 1985. Let's see what we've got. Hello, anybody that's in here right now. Kind of in the middle of a video here, so just you'll pick up what I'm putting down eventually. So 1985, another great year, it appears, for cinema, and especially action cinema. So we'll go with the U.S. We've got things like To Live and Die in L.A., an action film. I'm not sure, but it has a ton of great action in it. I mean, everything from a car chase to a foot chase to a shootout to even some fisticuffs. It's fantastic. And gets better the more I watch it. That's William Friedkin doing a down and dirty LA crime film. Awesome movie. Commando. That is one hell of an American action film and a quintessential American action film. That one's going to be hard to beat. But we do have Code of Silence, my favorite Chuck Norris movie of all time. We have Rambo, First Blood Part 2. Whew. American Ninja, my favorite Sam Furstenberg film and my favorite Dudikoff film. I adore American Ninja a lot. Missing in Action 2, a great film. Invasion USA, one of the best Chuck films again. We have A View to a Kill. Good Lord, what a year. Well, I think the most representative of American action films in 1985 is Commando. Commando can't lose here. Even though I'm tempted to choose one of my favorite action movies of the 80s, Code of Silence. I love Code of Silence. I love the theme. There you go. Hope you enjoyed that. You could do the bass line. I could do the drums. I got the whole spectrum of instruments for that. But Commando has to take the cake. John Matrix's daughter gets kidnapped in the very beginning. Who was his daughter? Played I forget. Alyssa Milano. That's right. Ray Dawn Chong, who plays a very good, aloof kind of woman caught up in the madness of this action film. Dan Hedaya, Vernon Wells as the S&M laden Freddie Mercury guy villain. Bill Duke, always fun to watch. Bill Duke would make another appearance in another Schwarzenegger movie down the line called Predator. I'm sure we'll be talking about at least briefly, if not as my pick coming up soon. So Commando, Mark L. Lester. This is just, again, guys, quintessential action. It never stops. I mean, you have in the first 15 minutes, or 10 minutes, you have an action sequence. Things are calm in John Matrix's home. And then he literally smells bad guys coming. He has a line where he describes that he smelt them coming. And he eviscerates them. They kidnap his daughter, though. And then he goes on an absolute rampage. I want to say hundreds of people are killed in this film. That's the American way. It is absolutely brilliant. And if somebody was to say to me, hey, I need you to show, I've never seen an action movie from the 80s from America. Show me the action movie that is exemplary, represents the 80s, is quintessential 80s. Well, that would be Commando. It's nonstop action. It's like 85 minutes long. It doesn't fuck around. It blows shit up with bazookas and everything else. It's amazing, and I want to go watch it. 85 is tough. So many classics. I know, right? Man, what happens if I need to pee? I need to pee right now. I might have to. Sorry, TMI. Don't mind me. I might have to do that in a minute. We'll get through this year, and then I'm going to run to do that, and I'll be right back in a second. So, next up, Hong Kong. Whew! Enough. You said it, O.C. Floydian. This is a tough year for me to pick from. So Hong Kong, we have Police Story. I mean, how do you beat Police Story? This is one of the finest action films of all time. Same thing with Yes, Madam, though. I would say, this is the female counterpart to Police Story. This is a Corey Yun film from the same opera school as Jackie Chan. Again, anytime you see that Yun, that means they were from that school. Not always, but if you're talking about 80s stuff, most of the time that was the case. And Corey Yun, great action director. This is a fantastic movie with Cynthia Rothrock. And really the film that Michelle Yeoh breaks out in, if I'm not mistaken. So this one Ah, the beautiful Michelle Yeoh, one of my absolute favorite actors, actresses on the planet. I just think she is fantastic. Yeah, so this is really her first vehicle as an action star, and then she just gets a ton of them throughout the 80s and 90s. Not enough. I wish she had more. She is my queen. What can I say? Uh, she she is one of my favorite action heroes of all time. She's badass. And Cynthia Rothrock ain't too far behind. Tsui Hark also has a bit role in this. Fruit Chan, Sammo Hung has a bit role in it. It's an awesome movie. But, guys, I am going to have to pick Police Story. How can I not pick Police Story? This is, again, one of the best action films of all time. Really sets the groundwork for, how do I say, modern non-wuxia Jackie Chan films or non-traditional Chinese Hong Kong pieces. His experience making the film, I want to say The Protector in America with under James Glickenhaus. James Glickenhaus was the American director for that film. And Jackie Chan really had no say in the action and how he thought the action should go. And that's a mistake on Glickenhaus. Glickenhaus should have respected that Jackie Chan had been making action films in Hong Kong for 15 years. He knew how to shoot them. He was directing them. He knew what he was doing. But he didn't get the opportunity, Jackie, to really influence the film, The Protector. Now, there is a Hong Kong cut where he does do his own Hong Kong-style action sequences and kind of infuses them into the films. It's a little messy, but it works well enough. Anyway, his experience making The Protector and his relationship with Glickenhaus caused him to have the idea to make Police Story in Hong Kong. So he does. He has full control over this film. He writes it. He directs it. He sings the theme song. I'm sure he did even more things. Yeah, songs by James Wong and Jackie Chan. So, bum ba-dum, bum ba-dum, bum bum ba-dum, bum. A great theme song, super memorable. It has he actually sings it in the movie. It's fantastic. Some of the best action sequences of all time. The opening action sequence is like 15 minutes long. It involves the shantytown being destroyed, a downhill gun battle, Jackie hopping onto a double-decker bus, all doing his own stunts, obviously. There's a great mall sequence. Later on, the finale is fantastic. I won't give away too much. Officer Chan Ka-kui manages to put a major Hong Kong drug dealer behind the bars practically alone. After shooting in an impressive chase inside a slum, now he must protect the boss's secretary, Selena, who will testify against the gangster in court. One of the best films of all time, a perfect 5. It has to be Police Story as my favorite from Hong Kong from 85. Now we're going to move on to Japan. So for Japan, so we have Dan, which is Japanese for turmoil, one of the greatest war epics of all time. It's a bit of a stretch for me to call it an action film, especially the type of action film that we're speaking on here. Oh, I forgot to mention Hong Kong also had Mr. Vampire. Oh, what a great movie. Well, it looks like Ran, which is one of the greatest films of all time as well, is going to be my favorite action film from 85 from Japan. Because I have Megazone 2-3 Part 1, which I adore. I absolutely adore. And Dagger of Kamui by Rintaro, which is another good one. But neither of those really outshine Dan. But how do you outshine Dan? It's labeling it as drama, history, action. I agree with that. But in terms of the scale and scope of epic nature of the action, you have never seen anything like Dan. Actually, let me show you guys my pretty neat and cool copy of Dan here. Oh, sorry, I don't have very good lighting here. But this is a 4K I got for a crazy good deal at Best Buy a couple of years ago. And I bought like 3 of them because they were priced cheap and going for a lot more online. So this was essentially free. This is a 4K of Dan. This is Akira Kurosawa, of course, the guy who did Seven Samurai and so many classic war epics, Shakespearean war epics. Dan is by far my favorite. I like it more than Seven Samurai. I'm a history student, and there's nothing like a true to the time, authentic feeling Japanese war epic, or just war epic in general. Kurosawa gets it completely right in 85, towards the end of his career, and just makes one of the greatest films of all time. After Kagemusha, I'll take Dan any day. Again, Dan means turmoil. It's a weird word to say because I guess in America we would say ran. It's not ran. It has nothing to do with running. The word in Japan would be dan, dan. It's almost like an L and an R, A-N, dan. And again, it means turmoil, which perfectly encapsulates what the film is about. One of the greats of all time. So we're going with Dan as my favorite Japanese film. And so between Commando from the US, Police Story in Hong Kong, and Dan in Japan, oh my God. Police Story or Dan. It's between those two. And my gut is telling me that I need to watch more Japanese action movies from 85. So I'm going to go with Police Story because it is a true action film. And that pulls Hong Kong ahead so far in terms of my favorite country producing action films. Guys, just bear with me one moment. Let's see. Here is Stimpy's nose while I go use the urination room. All right. Okay, thanks, Stimp. Stimp. I am back. Okie dokie. We are moving on to 1986. 1986. As you could tell, I watched a lot more movies in 1986. Let's see what my least favorite action film from 86 is. Well, I don't hate these films. Brotherhood of Justice. Maximum Overdrive. I am ashamed that I have that so goddamn low. I must have not liked it too much the first time around. I need to rectify that. I need to rewatch that. Black Moon Rising, Firewalker. Okay. Even the worst of the worst in terms of action films that I've seen from 86 are not that bad. Let's see. So in the US, wow. Oh, gee. This is going to be hard. I just saw the first two. I'm like, oh, shit. Okay. 86. Big Trouble in Little fucking China. John Carpenter. That's one of the best movies ever. Aliens, one of the best movies ever. Action films ever. Let's see. Platoon, that's a war action film. The Mission. This is a very not US heavy action film list here. Highlander, Avenging Force, Top Gun, Armed and Dangerous, Running Scared, The Golden Child. Some great fun movies from 86. But I would say for me, it's between Big Trouble in Little China and Aliens. Which film do I like more? Oh my goodness. I'm wondering which film I've logged more in the, 7-8 years since I've been using Letterboxd. Aliens, I logged thrice, 3 times. Big Trouble in Little China, I've logged once. Well, I think that tells you what you need to know. This is close, though, boy. Oh, man. I'm going with Carpenter. I'm going with Big Trouble in Little China is just so much fun. What do you guys think? Big Trouble in Little China or Aliens? For you personally, what's your favorite out of the two? What would you rather choose if you had to choose one? I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm going with Big Trouble in Little China. I'm going with Big Trouble, which is interesting because it borrows from Chinese culture, obviously, and is riffing on a lot of the Shaw Brothers and martial arts stuff going on at that time, which is awesome, or before that. So I got to go with Big Trouble in Little China. What can I say? Yeah, hard one to decide. I know, right? I'm going with Big Trouble. What a film. What a film. It's hilarious. The action is fantastic. The effects are way over the top and goofy. The characters are memorable. Egg Chen, Jack Burton, even the side characters. What's her name? I'm blanking on the freaking actors. What's it? Kim Cattrall, Dennis Dunn, James Hong, Victor Wong, Carter Wong, Kate Burton. There's so many names here. Lots of Hong Kong names too, which is cool to see. So yeah, we're going. You could tell how big Hong Kong culture was at the time, or Chinese culture, because of Big Trouble in Little China, kind of culminating. So next up, I'm gonna choose my Hong Kong film. This is gonna be tough. I'm already A Better Tomorrow. Really, the film that John Woo creates that really opens up the door to heroic bloodshed. It's one of the most influential films of the 80s, no question about it. This is pretty much what Hong Kong films moving forward were in the late 80s and the 90s. The crime, the action films. They were modern, triad, gangster films, or police and gangsters, kind of bank cops and robbers kind of thing going on. It just some of the best stuff ever made. And The Seventh Curse, one of the most fun movies ever made by Nam Lai Choi. This is an insane and zany horror action martial arts film with some crazy special effects, like this little fetus guy that just chews people's faces off and he floats around. He kind of looks like Slimer, but he's more visceral. He's like he looks like an intestine or something that rips out of, or like a kidney that has ripped out of your body and is chewing people's faces off. We have another, again, though, Seventh Curse. You guys got to see this. This is like one of the wackiest fun movies. You want to see Chow Yun-fat blow the shit out of monsters with a bazooka. It is fantastic. You must watch it. Heroes Shed No Tears. This one is a fantastic John Woo film that it has an incredible action, but also has deep drama and scenes that will make you feel. That's what John Woo was so good at, balancing the over-the-top action with the dramatic flair. And the great storytelling, because he was a writer too. People forget that he was writing these films. The Killer, Heroes Shed No Tears. Did he write? I'm sure he did. This is John Woo, one of the most underrated writers of all time, in my opinion. You have Righting Wrongs. This is another, I think, Korean film. Yep. Bringing back Cynthia Rothrock. You have Yin Bio, Korean. Is actually in the film. Wu Ma. These are names I'm bringing up that if you are familiar with Hong Kong cinema, you would know who they are. Righting Wrongs is fantastic. Let's see what else we have from Hong Kong. Magic Crystal. It's a Wong Jing film with Richard Norton, Andy Lau, Cynthia Rothrock. So you could see Cynthia Rothrock was really popular around this time in Hong Kong. It would take her years to come over to DTV land in America and make films that were nowhere near as good as her Hong Kong outings. We have, we have Armor of God. I love Armor of God, not as much as the second Armor of God, Operation Condor. It's one of my favorite Jackie films of all time. Which this one sours the more I watch it. I'm not sure why. I loved it as a kid, but my rating of it gets lower and lower as time goes on. Witch from Nepal. This is another Tony Ching Siu-tung or Ching Siu-tung or Siu-tung Ching film, Witch from Nepal, Chow Yun-fat. This is more of like an horror fantasy action film. Good stuff. And then Royal Warriors, which is the second, I want to say, Yes, Madam film, which is fantastic. It's David Chung directed. Michelle Yeoh plays a cop. And so I'm going to go for my favorite film. This is actually kind of easy for me, from Hong Kong, A Better Tomorrow. No question. This movie is so influential. John Woo. It's one of my favorite John Woo films. I'd say top 3. I want to say The Killer, Hard Boiled, Better Tomorrow. There's a few others up there. He's just one of the greats, guys. He just made a film called The Killer, which is a remake of his original 87 film, The Killer, which I'm sure we'll be talking about coming up soon here. I want to say it was 87. It is a reboot remake it's an American reboot remake, or like an international feeling one. I watched it the other night. I am glad to report that John Woo is back. He's not in full form. He has evolved as a filmmaker. The action is kinetic. I love his slow motion usage. He's still got birds flying and shit flying in each of the action sequences. Very John Woo stuff. You could tell that it's a John Woo action film. The action in The New Killer is fantastic when it's there. It's not as good as his 80s stuff, but it's good. And after watching Silent Night and being thoroughly disappointed with the action and how long it takes to get to it and how boring the first half of that film is, I was very happy to see him come back to the genre that made him remaking one of his original films. I think that is cool as hell. The cast does a good job in The New Killer. They do swap out Chow Yun-fat with a female. I forget her name, but she is incredible, very physical, beautiful, and just a really good movie. So I was happy to see that John Woo is back, and he's 78 years old. I don't expect him to make another action film, but who knows? There's a part of me that thinks he might make another action film after this one, since this one seems to be going over rather well with people. So John Woo's back, at least partially. 3.5 out of 5, his New Killer movie. Very good movie. But A Better Tomorrow, guys, Ti Lung, Chow Yun-fat, Leslie Chung, an incredible cast. Of course, John Woo makes an appearance in it as well. A reforming gangster tries to reconcile with his estranged policeman brother, but the ties to his former gang are difficult to break. Ti Lung is another Shaw Brothers actor, a Hong Kong mainstay, very iconic. I've seen 10 films with him, according to IMDb. Better Tomorrow, Drunken Master, Better Tomorrow 2, Tiger on the Beat. Anytime Ti Lung pops up with his pushed back hairline, I know I'm in for a treat. I love A Better Tomorrow, one of the coolest action films of all time. Chow Yun-fat here on the cover, lighting his cigar by burning a $100 bill, a Benjamin Franklin. You don't get cooler than that. Just one of the best movies of all time. Some of the greatest action sequences, some of the most kinetic, unbelievable, heroic bloodshed film. I love it to pieces. Next up, we've got Japan. How we doing, folks? Everybody doing all right? Checking in with the chat. We don't got much going on the chat, which is fine because I'm kind of just powering through this. We're about halfway through. I guess I'm streaming for a couple hours here today. We've got Japan, 1986. All right, let's see what we've got. We've got Castle in the Sky. Definitely an action-adventure film. Not traditional action, but I'm not really too keen on keeping it hyper-traditional because it would just be too difficult to make this list. Castle in the Sky, in my opinion, is a perfect animated film. It's a perfect action-adventure film. We have Arion, which is based on Greek mythology. Another great anime film that I have on Blu-ray by Yoshikazu Yasuhiko, who did Venus Wars, which I like a bit more than Arion, but I do love Arion. Project A-ko and Dirty Pair, both female-centric, schoolgirl kind of ass-kicking anime, early stuff. Project A-ko really starts that genre of the schoolgirls kicking ass. It has a name. I can't think of it. Megazone 2-3 Part 2. This one was directed by Ichiro Itano and Yasuo Hasegawa. There were 3 Megazone 2-3 OVAs, and each one was directed by a different director. I think I forgot who did the third one. The guy who did I want to say Aramaki, or is that the guy who did Resident Evil? I mixed them up. Fist of the North Star, the film. I love this movie. I rewatched this recently. It's fantastic. We have what else? MD Geist. I think is good. And that's about it for the Japanese stuff. So that's going to be an easy one for me. That's going to be Castle in the Sky. That's a weird one for me to consider an action film. But, I mean, there is intense action sequences, no doubt about it. But I'm kind of torn. You know what? I'm not going to consider Castle in the Sky an action film. That doesn't feel quite right to me. And I'm going to pick. Nobody else will ever say this is their favorite Japanese action film. Dirty Pair Project Eden. Hot girls with guns. It's an Aliens ripoff. It's 70 minutes, 80 minutes long. It's super short. It's got a bit of romance, science fiction, definitely science fiction, big guns, big explosions. Most of the runtime of this is shit getting blown up, and I love it. Directed by Koichi Mashimo, who did bunch of animated stuff here. Noir, Hack Sign, Weathering Continent, which is a really cool one. Underrated little sci-fi action Mad Max kind of piece. But yeah, this one is fantastic. I actually did a video on Dirty Pair. I want to say I did a video. Yeah, I did one of my early reviews was on Dirty Pair, Project Eden. Dirty Pair had a couple sequels to, it was an OVA and a manga and all those things, but it has a few films that came out in a few years span. Affair on Nolandia, from Lovely Angels with Love, and Flight 005 Conspiracy. Now, Affair on Nolandia is another very good one. Tell me if this sounds familiar to any Star Wars fans. The Lovely Angels are dispatched to the planet of Uqbar in search of a missing girl. Kay and Yuri have traced young Missini to the forest of Nolandia, but their investigations have stalled thanks to the less than helpful chief of security. It's unicorns and UFOs, not to mention the rampaging killer robot that are going to be the problem. So when I watched this movie, it rung very closely to Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was like one of the first unique Star Wars stories to come out in novel form, where actually Luke and Leia have a romance because it came out before what was it, Empire and Return. So it was like early 80s, late 70s. So anyway, Dirty Pair Affair on Nolandia was kind of a ripoff of that. Sorry, I'm getting off topic. Hey, Squeeb, what's going on? Good to see you as well. Thanks for tuning in. All right, I just closed out 1986. What I'm doing is going over my favorite action films from each year from 82 to 92 and going through my favorite US, Hong Kong, and Japan, picking one from each country and then picking one overall. So Dirty Pair Project Eden is my favorite Japanese anime action film from 86. And so what is my favorite film out of the three? A Better Tomorrow, Big Trouble in Little China, and Dirty Pair Project Eden. Honestly, I'm going with Hong Kong. A Better Tomorrow. It's so influential. It starts really John Woo's action movie career. Of course, he has a couple wuxia films, one with Jackie Chan, Hand of Death, that he worked with Jackie Chan on. Criterion, I just picked up the Criterion collection of Last Hurrah for Chivalry, which I still need to see. Those are his martial arts, wuxia type, Shaw Brothers type action films from the 70s. And then he basically takes what he learns in those films in terms of choreography and infuses them into a new modern action genre, which would be called heroic bloodshed, which is one of the most influential action genres of all time. The Americans borrowed from it heavily. Everybody borrowed from it. It is heroic bloodshed could be described as, cops, robbers, maybe a film just focused on gangsters who have close relationships with their fellow gangsters or their fellow cops, and there's drama and relationship drama in that. That's a big part of it. Usually they end up dying. They end up getting killed, hence heroic bloodshed, sacrificial loyalty, honor. A lot of the things that made the Shaw Brothers films great are borrowed and infused into a modern action drama genre, which John Woo really single-handedly does. Shaw Brothers was still making period pieces at this point and trying to break out, and Hong Kong was trying to break out of that traditional formula. Long Arm of the Law, things like that in 83. There were films before A Better Tomorrow, don't get me wrong, but A Better Tomorrow really lays the groundwork for the aesthetic and the dynamic action, the kineticism of Hong Kong action. It really, really gets it wonderful. And A Better Tomorrow is one of the greats of all time. Might as well show you these. So, sorry, buddy. Everybody doing good? All right. Might as well show you these. These are, I want to say, bootlegs from China, if I'm being honest. But they have pretty decent slipcovers here. Really well done. These might be official releases in China. I don't really know the difference, if I'm being honest with you. But we have Cam. It says K-A-M. I'm not sure. It's got Japanese hiragana on it, which is interesting. So yeah, certainly not the most legitimate releases, but I got these for super cheap, and the transfers are fantastic, if I'm being honest, and I'm not a stickler for quality, but these are great. I'll get rid of them when they release a nice trilogy box set, 88 films or Arrow or something like that. So, all right, guys, moving on to the next year. We're at 1987. And this video is going to be like 2 hours long because that's me. But that's okay. I wanted to do something like this. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while. And honestly, I didn't even talk to you guys about the new place that I'm in. And you can see behind me, that's my horror Blu-ray case. I'll show you guys a close-up at the end of the video. And then actually to the left of me, you can see more Blu-rays. And to the right of me, you can see more Blu-rays. We're still getting settled in the house here. It's coming together slowly but surely. We love it. It's great. Okay, so moving on to 1986. Wait, no, did I just do 1986? What am I doing? Yeah, I just did 86. I'm an idiot. I'm doing 87. Yeah, so we got a bunch of films from 87. My least favorite action film from 87 was Deadly Prey. But it got a heart because I enjoyed it. Deadly Prey is abysmal. It's absolutely abysmal Pryor Brothers film. Ted Pryor starring David Pryor. But it's fun and fun to watch with friends. So let's see here. Let's try to figure out what my favorite U.S. action film from 87. Oh my God, this is going to be brutal. RoboCop, Predator, Lethal Weapon, The Hidden, Beverly Hills Cop 2, American Ninja 2, Cherry 2000, Bad Taste, New Zealand action horror film. Wow. The Running Man, No Retreat, No Surrender 2, Extreme Prejudice, Hard Ticket to Hawaii. What a year. This is like the DTV era starts kicking in heavy here. Okay, well, shit. It's going to be between RoboCop, Predator, and Lethal Weapon. And I think I've made my decision. It's got to be Predator. John McTiernan's Predator, one of the greatest. Listen, RoboCop is right there with it. Paul Verhoeven's RoboCop. But there is something so primal and visceral and masculine about Predator. All those things, while it actually criticizes masculinity in a pretty cutting way, but it disguises its criticism in a machismo-laden, awesome, adrenaline-fueled action film. And it has a message and a learning, and it's got all these incredible elements to it. But what we love about it is the hulking muscles, the giant weapons, Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. You have Carl Weathers, Bill Duke, Jesse Ventura, Sonny Landham. So much testosterone in this film. Shane Black, of course, famously came on to touch up the script, and thank goodness he did, because it really added a bit of spice to the characterization of the characters. One of the greatest monster designs, one of the most imposing, enigmatic monster designs in the Predator. This film is about just a group of men who are being hunted one by one by this alien beast. And then, of course, the last half of the film is a one-on-one sort of cat and mouse between this beast, who finds the apex human predator in Arnold Schwarzenegger. And you can imagine how it ends up. One of the greatest action films of all time, no question about it. It's a perfect movie. John McTiernan's one of his best movies of all time. Of course, I prefer Die Hard, but they are real close, 87, 88. I mean, my God. Actually, well, I may have just forecasted 88. Hong Kong, next up. I forgot to mention Over the Top, Stallone, too. So you had a RoboCop, you had an Arnie film, you had a Mel Gibson film, you had Stallone, really, and Eddie Murphy. The Hidden is no slouch, guys. This is one of my favorites. I love this movie from 87. Underrated film. Next up, we're going to Hong Kong. We got Eastern Condors. I'm telling you right now, that's going to be hard to beat. Project A, Part 2. Very, very good. Nearly perfect, just like the first one, but not quite as good if I had to be critical. We have City on Fire, Ringo Lam film, which is a great movie. Another quintessential early heroic bloodshed film with Chow Yun-fat and Danny Lee. In fact, the same cast as The Killer. When does The Killer... Is The Killer 89? Yeah, I guess The Killer is 89. Yeah, okay. So we'll be talking about that one soon. Well, that's going to have to go to Eastern Condors. And that's the first time Sammo Hung has been mentioned on this list here. Eastern Condors is kind of like the Expendables, if I dare say, of Hong Kong of the late 80s. It's kind of like Rambo. It's kind of like Predator. It's kind of like The Dirty Dozen. One of the craziest casts. Now, these names will only mean something to people who are familiar with Hong Kong cinema. But Yin Bio, Sammo Hung, the only person missing in this is Jackie Chan. And I still don't understand why Jackie didn't do this. I'm sure he was busy making his own movies like Project A2 and things like that. Sammo Hung, Yin Bio. Sammo Hung directs as well. Yin Hua, who was another from the seven little brothers. Lam Ching Ying, Yasuaki Kurata, which again you know these guys. He was in Fist of Legend. Dick Wei, Billy Cho, Charlie Chin, Corey Yin, Yin Wo Ping, Billy Lo, Chung Kwok Kung, Xiao Ho. All these guys are Wu Ma, Philip Ko. All these guys are mainstays in Hong Kong cinema. And I want to say, yeah, so Sammo Hung, Yin Wo Ping, let's see. Yeah, not a Shaw Brothers film. Guys, this is a war film, but it's heavy in the action. A motley group of Chinese prisoners held in the U.S. is sent on a covert mission with the promise of a pardon to go deep into Vietnam and destroy a secret depot of missiles that the U.S. left behind during the pullout. This has some of the most kinetic gun action you will ever see. It's got a scene with grenades, which is just mind-blowing. It's got this woman, Joyce Godenzi, I believe, yes. Beautiful Chinese actress. I think, Australian and Chinese here. She was in She Shoots Straight, Mr. Nice Guy, The Seventh Curse. Always great when she pops up. What's this one? This one looks good. License to Steal, already on my list there. Yin Bio, Joyce Godenzi. I need to see that. Billy Chan. Guys, Eastern Condors, I have actually right below me because I've been on a Hong Kong kick, which sparked me to do this video. Right here. This is a Eureka Fortune Star release. This is Region B. Has the Iron Fisted Monk, the Magnificent Butcher, and Eastern Condors. I haven't even opened this. So I haven't even seen Eastern Condors on Blu-ray yet. And actually, here's my copy of The Seventh Curse. We were just talking about this as well. as well. And might as well mention, since I'm mentioning Hong Kong films, I'd love to know what you guys thought of this movie. Shaolin Soccer. I've been on a Stephen Chow kick. I am sad to say I am late to the party, but I've seen a bunch of the films he's directed and written at this point, and a bunch of the films he's starred in. Maybe I'll be talking about that at some point. It took me a while to get into his sense of humor, the Hong Kong sense of humor. It's very unique. And there's a lot lost, as far as I understand, with the wordplay and the multi-layering of jokes and things like that. But some of the Stephen Chow films really land with me. Out of the Dark, From Beijing with Love, Forbidden City Cop, and Kung Fu Hustle, of course, and Shaolin Soccer. This was really the film that he made that broke him out in the West. Guys, this is a perfect movie. If you want to have fun today, watch Shaolin Soccer. If you don't mind reading subtitles, because do not watch the cut 90-minute US version. This is the full uncut 2-hour-long Hong Kong version. Doesn't matter if you don't like soccer or if you hate soccer, whatever. This is one of the best sports comedies of all time. You will laugh your ass off. It's fantastic. The humor is keen. I'm not talking about Stephen Chow, though, or more modern films. So, Eastern Condors, that's my Hong Kong pick. We're going on an hour and 20 minutes here. Next up, we're going to Japan. Japan, it looks like there's not many anime films from this year. So, Dragon Ball, Sleeping Princess and Devil's Castle. I really love this little film. It's about an hour long. It's not very long, 45 minutes, in fact. Daisuke Nishio directed. This is obviously based on Dragon Ball. I have a hard time calling that my favorite, though. Black Magic. Ooh, Black Magic M66. That's got to be it. Metal Skin Panic. I really love Metal Skin Panic. Devilman is really good. That Red Spectacles. Interesting. This was the live-action version of Jinro, if I'm not mistaken. Mamoru. I'm going to have to go Lily Cat. This is sort of an alien anime, alien ripoff anime. Wicked City, a film that I need to rewatch. I'm going to go with Black Magic M66. I know most of you are probably like, what the hell is that? I'll describe what it is. It is basically a Terminator ripoff. So all of the big action films, science fiction films from the 80s got anime counterparts in Japan. Black Magic M66 is a lot like Terminator. A freelance reporter stumbles on a desperate military operation. An army chopper has crashed and its cargo has been activated. That's the robot Black Magic M66. Now there are 2 killer androids running loose in the wilderness and have the daughter of their invention as their target. Can the army stop them, or can the reporter reach the little girl before the droids do? So a little bit of Predator, a lot of bit of Terminator. Awesome animation and character design. I just love this cover. I'd love this on Blu-ray. I don't have it on DVD or Blu-ray. I think it's out there on DVD. Hard to find. I mean, real hard to find. We're talking like $60 to $80 last time I checked. But this is awesome. You guys should check it out if you're a fan of 80s action films. This is one of the best. So that's definitely not going to win out over, Predator and Eastern Condors. But I am tempted to choose Eastern Condors here, but I can't in good faith skip out on the Predator. Predator has to win out with how influential it was. It's one of the best action films of all time. I absolutely adore it. So now we're moving on to the year of my birth. A great year. The Year of the Dragon, if we're talking Chinese. What is it? Year of the Dragon. Let me make sure I've got that right. Yeah, 1988, the Chinese Zodiac, Year of the Dragon. So there you go. Year I was born. I was born in the motherfucking Year of the Dragon. Bitch. That shit is hardcore. Power and energy. I'm known for my power and energy. Yeah. Look at how much energy I have. Goal-oriented and idealistic in nature. I am certainly that. Rather idealistic. Romantic and visionary leadership qualities. I have some of the leaderships. Not sure about the romantic leader. Don't know what romantic leadership is. Persevering and far-sighted approach. Working on that. Working on that one. So I am the Earth Dragon. Smart, ambitious, and hardworking. Yeah, I'll take it. Pretty spot on. Okay, so with that said, we're moving on to 1988. Year of the Dragon. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Another crazy stacked year. Midnight Run, one of the most underrated action comedy films of all time. Die Hard. Well, might as well just end it there. Die Hard is my favorite American action film from 1988. There's no question about it. You also have Bloodsport. You have First Blood Part 3. You have Deadbeat at Dawn, a great exploitation action film. You have Missing in Action 3. You have Red Scorpion, Red Heat, Dead Heat. Above the Law. You've got, Seagal coming into the ring here. You've got a rather shitty Chuck film, Here in the Terror. Action Jackson, Carl Weathers, rest in peace. But it's an easy one. John McTiernan, 2 years in a row. Die Hard. No question. And anybody who wants to read, I have a little review on Letterboxd. It's kind of a poem, kind of a rap that I wrote about Die Hard. Well, not a rap, but yeah, go check it out. You'll see what I mean. I have logged Die Hard 10 times since 2017. 10 times. It's more than a year, once per year. What can I say? This is a quintessential action film with Bruce Willis working his way to the top of a skyscraper, killing all the bad guys he can, trying to save his wife from imminent danger. This takes place on New Year's Eve. So yes, it is a Christmas film. It is laced with Christmas bells in its score, Christmas lights everywhere, lines that are referencing Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. Now I've got a fucking machine gun. Best action movie ever made. We're talking top 5, folks. So that one's hard to beat. That one's hard to beat. So we'll move to Hong Kong. Police Story 2. Oh my God. That's another 5-star film. Tiger on the Beat. Fantastic Lau Kar-leung film. Heroic bloodshed. Kind of comedy action kind of thing. But we got to go with Police Story 2. The only 5-star film that I have from Hong Kong for 88. Police Story 2 is more of the same. More police story. Hong Kong super cop must stop a group of blackmailing bombers at the same time that the villains of the first Police Story are out for revenge. So it connects directly to the first one. Maggie Cheung is back. Jackie Chan. Bill Tung is back. Wu Ma. The standout action sequence here for me is, a lot of people say this is not as good as the first film. I would take the first film over the second, but I think 2 is a perfect action film. I really do. The playground scene with the metal batons and that sound, the sound of just hundreds of baton strokes happening and clinking off of each other, and the choreography, the playground, it's just such a cool place to do an action sequence. Love Police Story 2. All right, now moving on to Japan. I'm not going to look. This is an easy one for me. Akira, no question. So we have, for the first time, I think, in this list, we have 3 5-star films going up against each other. And Die Hard, Police Story 2, or Akira. Man. Akira makes me feel things that no other movie makes me feel. But I don't have as deep a connection to Akira as Die Hard. I think Akira is the best animated film of all time. This is tough. I gotta go with Die Hard. Gotta go. Yeah, the American in me is now showing. I gotta go with Die Hard. For all the reasons that I've already mentioned. One of the best films of all time, action or not, America or not. Want to know how to make an action film? Watch Die Hard. All right, we're moving on to 1989, end of the decade here. American action films: Last Crusade, Dead Bang, Roadhouse, Black Rain, The Abyss, Kickboxer, Batman, Lethal Weapon 2, Lockup. Lots of solid films. Tango and Cash, License to Kill, Best of the Best. Yeah. Great year. Great year for American cinema. I got to go with Last Crusade. Last Crusade, no doubt about it. The quintessential Indiana Jones film. This film gets better and better every time you watch it. It is a more refined version film than Raiders of the Lost Ark, even though I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of the best movies of all time too. I still have to say Last Crusade is a perfectly made action-adventure film. Great characters, incredible action, some of the best music that you can ever ask for in a caper like this. Dun, 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 dun. Everybody knows the music. John Williams, Sean Connery, Harrison Ford, one of the best action films of all time. Moving to Hong Kong. Well, this is another easy one, folks. No question. The Killer. One of my favorite films of all time. One that connects me to my childhood. This was one of the first Hong Kong action films I had seen growing up, and then I was hooked ever since. And I still have my, periods of all I've watched for the last month is Hong Kong stuff, I feel like, or at least for the last few weeks. And there's so much to discover if you're an action junkie from Hong Kong. The Killer, one of the greats. A killer has a job in the beginning, and that goes a bit awry. There's a singer, and the singer, her vision is lost. The killer kind of takes her in, and because he feels deep anguish about causing her to lose her eyesight. And he takes care of her, but she doesn't know that he's the person who caused the blindness. So it's got the deep heroic bloodshed sort of genre tropes to it as well, with a killer and a cop who is who are going up like head to head, going after each other, kind of a cat and mouse thing until they eventually team up and learn that they have bigger fish to fry. But this is one of the great action sequences. This is really, really where the gun fu stuff comes into fruition. Better Tomorrow, he starts messing around with it, but this is like real kung fu kind of stuff, where the guns are used kind of like swords in a lot of ways. And one of the most influential action films of all time, one of the coolest. This is the introduction of Ahjong, or like Tequila, the tequila type character. I think that he does have like a toothpick in his mouth while he's shooting people up. Guys, this is The Killer. This is one of the best films of all time. So what more can be said? Written and directed by the great John Woo. All right. I hate to do this to you guys, but I need to use the bathroom again. I will be back in 30 seconds. All right, thank you for your patience. I am back. with a vengeance. All right, where were we? I think we're dealing with Japan, 89. Let's see what anime I watched in 89, if any. You also had In the Line of Duty Part 4, which is a really good one. Crazy, crazy film. Lady Terminator, that's another nutty one. Gojira versus Biollante. Venus Wars. Oh, I love Venus Wars. Violent Cop. This is this must be the year that Takeshi Kitano kind of breaks out of Japanese cinema and creates the modern Yakuza film. Action, crime. More crime than action, but some great action in those films as well. Then you have Venus Wars, Patlabor, Riding Bean, Gunhead, some really fun Japanese films from this year. But I'm going to have to go with Venus Wars. Venus Wars is an awesome, awesome movie by Yoshikazu Yasuhiko, who I had mentioned earlier. What did I mention him? Yasuhiko has done a bunch of the Gundam films. He did Crusher Joe, which is awesome. I didn't talk about that earlier, but I should have. But Star Wars-like anime, Ariane. So yeah, a great, great Japanese anime director. Venus Wars is what it sounds like. You have humans that have colonized Venus, and a civil war breaks out on the planet, and a whole bunch of normal people, regular kids, and working class people are caught up in the war, and it's just them trying to navigate it. This has music by Joe Hisaishi, which is fantastic. I would play it, but I don't want to get copyright struck. It is so good. So good. Hisaishi is known for Hayao Miyazaki's films. He basically did all the music for Hayao Miyazaki's films. Castle in the Sky, Nausicaa, one of my favorite films ever. So Venus Wars is going to be my pick for Japan. And from 1989, we have Last Crusade, The Killer, and Venus Wars. Got to go with Hong Kong, The Killer, in terms of influential film and just kick-ass, amazing action films. It's got to be The Killer. So I want to say we're neck and neck. I'm not going to look right now. Neck and neck between Hong Kong and U.S. I have a feeling Hong Kong is winning, which shows my bias. But hey, man, the more Hong Kong films you watch, the more you realize they were doing it way better than the Americans in terms of genre action. All right, going to 1990 into the new decade. We have American, Total Recall, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Marked for Death, one of my favorite Seagal films, Predator 2, King of the Kickboxers, one of the best DTV action films, I think. Lionheart, underrated, kind of like the Street Fighter, the real Street Fighter movie, Van Damme. Darkman, Die Hard 2, Tremors, oh my God, so many great. RoboCop 2, Death Warrant, Dark Angel, Hard to Kill. Another 48 Hours, China O'Brien, Navy SEALs. Now we're getting into the dregs, but Ford Fairlane, Captain America, Pyun's Captain America. Well, Total Recall. I mean, there's no question. It's Total Recall. TMNT is close, but Total Recall is one of my favorite movies of all time. So you can't go wrong with Total Recall. Based on the Philip K. Dick story. Directed by Paul Verhoeven. Finally getting a Verhoeven film on my list here. RoboCop barely missed. Construction worker Douglas Quaid's obsession with the planet Mars leads him to visit Recall, a company who manufactures memories. Something goes wrong during his implant, turning Doug's life upside down, and even to question what is reality and what isn't. My take on the film is that from the moment, what I think is happening is as soon as he wakes up from his dream where his eyes are bulging out of his head in the very beginning of the film, that when he wakes up, that is his Recall vacation. Him waking up and the whole movie is his Recall vacation. So we actually never see him going to Recall in reality. He does that before the film. Maybe the dream sequence right at the beginning of the film
is inside his head while he's getting the memory implanted. I think the whole film is his memory, is his recall memory, the thing that he purchases. And I think that is brilliant. Now, you could watch the film. It really is ambiguous. You really don't know whether he's in, whether what's happening to him is real or in his head, and that's part of the paranoia, the fun that comes with the film. You're always guessing. It could go either way. It's written so well that the ambiguity really can lean either way. But in my head, to me, I think there's enough clues in the film. I've seen it 100 times to say that the entire film is his recall trip as soon as he wakes up from that eye-bulging dream. So I love this movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Rachel Ticotin, Sharon Stone, Ronnie Cox, Michael Ironside, Marshall Bell, Quato, the weird, especially the weird puppet that comes out of the guy's chest belly. Mel Johnson Jr., again, I don't want to give too many spoilers away. But guys, if you haven't seen Total Recall, what the fuck are you doing? Go watch Total Recall. The remake is okay, but it's nothing like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Total Recall. How many Schwarzenegger films is that, by the way? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 Schwarzenegger films. That almost seems unfair. Hong Kong, 80 or 1990. This looks like a pretty easy one for me. I just watched Curry and Pepper, which I really, really love this movie. A fun Stephen Chow, Jackie Chung movie. Not Jackie Chan, Jackie Chung. Directed by Blackie Ko Shou Nang. And really fun sort of buddy cop, kind of Lethal Weapon kind of thing going on. Beverly Hills Cop. There were a few of those that year from Hong Kong. Skinny Tiger, Fatty Dragon. This is Sammo Hung. What else from Hong Kong? Outlaw Brothers. We've got She Shoots Straight, which is a film that everybody loves that I didn't love the first time. I need to give that another shot. But it's going to have to be another John Woo film, guys. This is a more serious John Woo film. This is not as fun as The Killer and Hard Boiled, but it hits heavy. This is a war film. 3 childhood friends from the slums of Hong Kong flee to wartime Saigon after accidentally murdering a gang leader, but their troubles only escalate. They get caught up in the war, caught up in violence. This is a true heroic bloodshed film that of 3 friends who are really challenged to stay friends as the film goes along. It's tragic. It's beautiful. It's got some incredible kinetic action. And it's one of the hardest hitting John Woo films. No question about it. Tony Leung, Jackie Chung, Wai Sei Lee, Simon Yam. You guys know those guys if you've seen any or enough Hong Kong films. Man, such a great film. Such a great film. John Woo, an underrated John Woo film. So Bullet in the Head. I still need this one on Blu-ray or DVD for that matter. Bullet in the Head has got to be my favorite Hong Kong film from this year, 1990. Moving to Japan. Well, I've got bad news that kind of throws this in for a loop. I apparently haven't seen any. That can't be. I thought, when did Cyber City Oedo come out? I thought that was 1990. Yeah, 1990. Do they not consider Cyber City Oedo weird? They must not consider Cyber City Oedo an action film. But it is a fucking action film. That is very strange. All right. Well, that's easy then. 1990 is going to be for action from Japan, Cyber City Oedo. I'm glad I thought of that because the fact that they're not considering, that's weird. Cyber City Oedo. Anyway, Cyber City Oedo is a nearly perfect Japanese OVA. It's broken down to 3 different episodes, about 25 minutes each. So it's about a feature-length film. This recently came out on Blu-ray. I picked it up on Blu-ray. I haven't watched the Blu-ray yet. This is by my favorite Japanese anime director, Yoshiaki Kawajiri. Kawajiri has done many films. He did Cyber City Oedo. He did Wicked City. He did Ninja Scroll, most famously, I would say. He did Highlander, the Highlander anime film. Goku, Midnight Eye. This guy has done some of the best cyberpunk action anime films from the 80s and early 90s. So Yoshiaki Kawajiri, one of my favorite directors of all time, anime or not. So for 1990, I've got to pick between Total Recall, Bullet in the Head, and Cyber City Oedo. 080808. And got to go with the US on this one. Total Recall. US, I say, but, German director, but a US production. Yep, got to go with Total Recall. How can you not? It's close, though. Cyber City Oedo and Bullet in the Head are both fantastic films. Fantastic films. All right, guys, we're getting to the nitty-gritty here. 1991. We've got, and we're running up on 2 hours. Perfect. So that works. So for 1991, American action films, let's see what we've got. Terminator 2. Geez, that wins. Last Boy Scout. TMNT 2, Secret of the Ooze. The Rocketeer. Point Break. Showdown in Little Tokyo. Out for Justice. The Perfect Weapon. Hot Shots. Highlander 2. Trancer. Stone Cold. Hudson Hawk, Ricochet, Robin Hood, Toy Soldiers, bunch of The Hard Way, bunch of great American action films, but that's an easy one. T2, no question. One of my most nostalgic films of all time. I remember going to, for a Christmas party, going to my godmother's house and going to her basement in the early 90s, probably 92 or 93, and finding a trove of VHS, and Terminator 2 was in there, and it was unopened. And I opened it up. Maybe I shouldn't have. I should have asked. But I opened it up and I watched it. And nobody knew. I was like 6 years old. Like, I'm not supposed to watch this. One of my favorite movies of all time. Director's cut or theatrical? I don't know. Both are good. I like director's cuts for movies that I love because it's just more of the movie that you love. Is the pacing a little different? Yeah. So probably the theatrical version is a little bit better. I'd have to rewatch them again, though. T2, one of the greats of all time. What a film. What a film. Next up, we're going to Hong Kong. Operation Condor and Riki O. The Story of Ricky. Nam Lai Choi and Lee Chan. Two films here that I adore. Once a Thief, a John Woo film. Love Once a Thief. Fantastic. We've got New Fist of Fury 91, which is funny Stephen Chow Fist of Fury parody where his right arm is super strong. Just his right arm. You have Fight Back to School, a really good Stephen Chow action comedy. But we're gonna Once Upon a Time in China, Tsui Hark action film. Tsui Hark is one of the great action Hong Kong directors of all time, and I just cannot get fully into his films. Even Once Upon a Time in China, which everybody raves about as one of the best Hong Kong films of all time, action films ever, Jet Li. I gave it 3.5 out of 5. So I thought it was very good, but not excellent. And I don't know what I'm missing with Tsui Hark's work. I think his choreography style is so different than the rest of the guys that I've talked about, Sammo Hung, Jackie Chan, Lau Kar-leung, these guys. It's more ethereal. It's less visceral. It's more floaty, more wuxia-like. Cut up very differently, edited very differently, but I have to appreciate it for what it is. And I don't know. I need to give Tsui Hark more of a chance. That's for sure. Now, Operation Condor, guys, which is Armor of God 2. This came out in America as Operation Condor before the first Armor of God came out. So watching this as a kid, I watched the cut version. 90 minutes, whatever it was, and I absolutely loved it growing up. I watched the cut and dubbed version with Jackie Chan's dubbing. Miramax release. I loved this movie growing up. It was so much fun. Now, watching the director's cut or the international, the Hong Kong cuts, the film really comes into its own and becomes the perfect action film that I always knew it was. Watching it in the Chinese language, obviously, is a +2 in Cantonese. This is, the Armor of God films are basically Jackie Chan's Indiana Jones meets James Bond kind of thing. Hired by a Spanish baron. So he's hired to track down these pieces of treasure, international pieces of treasure, and he globetrots, and it's just awesome. Singing his own songs, doing his own stunts, choreographing the action, just awesome stuff. Hong Kong treasure hunter Jackie Chan, Asian Hawk, and his entourage seek World War II Nazi gold buried in the Saharan desert. Can't go wrong with that, guys. So Jackie Chan, again, directs, writes, produces, choreographs, does the stunts, he does the songs. He's Jackie Chan, one of the greats. So check this out. I'm actually selling my Blu-ray of this right now. I'm selling all of my 88 Films Blu-rays on eBay, and I'm going to consolidate and get the Scream Factory Jackie Chan sets. They put out 2 with I want to say 10 or 12 films total. And a lot of my 88 Films Jackie ones were Region B, which were locked to Region B, and had really nice slipcovers, so they go for quite a bit. And I'm all for getting rid of, this many films and taking up this much space, getting all the Jackie Chan films by a reputable distributor in these 2 sets is going to be fantastic. That's what I've done with my Shaw films, Shaw Brothers films. And to be able to do this with the Jackie Chan films is going to be incredible. So, and I'm going to make over $200, and I could probably get the collections for about $100. So to me, it's a no-brainer. That's just how I collect. I don't care as much about the aesthetics or the individual piece. I want the films in the best quality I can, in the original language, in the original cut, and the Scream Factory box sets have those as far as I understand. And if I'm missing something about those, please let me know about those Jackie Chan box sets. What's up, Perry fan? We're getting to the end of my 2-hour stream here, but feel free to go back and watch it. As it says in the title, I'm going over and picking my favorite action films from 82 to 92, 3 different countries, US, Hong Kong, Japan, picking my favorite out of those 3 from each year. And then at the end, I'm going to figure out what is my favorite country that produced action films from that period. And I'm almost at the end. So I just got finished talking about Operation Condor. It is a fantastic Hong Kong action film. It's more than just a Hong Kong action film. It's a international action film in only the way that Jackie Chan could really bring us. It's tremendous. So we've got, moving over to Japan, we got a few options this time. We have Zeidam. Oh, Zeidam is awesome. It's based on the Iria manga and anime. The anime is fantastic as well. It came out around the same time. I want to say, I think it was like a joint sort of marketing thing. So Zeidam, we have Battle Girl, The Living Dead of Tokyo Bay. That one's fantastic too. We have Ninja Gaiden, the OVA. I love that. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. A solid Godzilla film. Judge, this is a little OVA that I do enjoy. Not really action, more horror. But I'm going to have to go with Zeidam. Guys, if you haven't seen Zeidam, watch Zeidam. It's a very fun live-action Iria. 2 average Joes working in the electronic services industry stumble upon the intergalactic bounty hunter Ilia and her partner, the artificial intelligence named Bulbu. Both men are accidentally transported to the Zone, a virtual reality in which Bulbu has trapped Ilia's latest prey. So she traps her targets in this virtual world and hunts them down. It's awesome. And Zeidam is this giant, feudal samurai, undead feudal samurai, alien-looking guy, lasers and fucking swords, and awesome design. And there is a sequel to this film called Zeidam 2, which is fantastic. Both done by Keita Amemiya, who is one of the... If you want fun Japanese films, heavy in the special effects, heavy in the tokusatsu, even a little bit of the kaiju, not as much, but more tokusatsu, check out Keita Amemiya. You have Zeidam, you have Hakaida, you have Kamen Rider, you have Cyber Ninja, you have Moon Over Tao. There's just some tremendous special effects films by Keita Amemiya. And one of those is Zeidam. So Zeidam is my favorite from Japan for 1991. Operation Condor, Terminator 2, or Zeidam. Man, I gotta be honest, this is hard between T2 and Operation Condor. I don't know. I have a nostalgic connection to both of these films. I've always said I like Terminator 1 more than Terminator 2, slightly. And you know what? I'm going with Operation Condor for my favorite film, action film from 91. We're going with it. Going with it. All right, last year that I'm doing is 1992. So that'll be 82 to 92. And we will continue doing this moving forward. The reason I didn't do 72 to 82 is because I need to watch more films from America and from Japan in that era. So 1992, we're going to go with U.S. first. So you have Under Siege. You have Trespass. You have Last of the Mohicans, Batman Returns. You have The Silencer. That's a weird one. Universal Soldier, Nemesis, 50-50. A lot of solid action films. Nothing mind-blowing, except for, I would say, see Rapid Fire down here. That's an awesome film. Universal Soldier is pretty incredible for the year. Pretty quintessential American action film from that year. Lundgren, Van Damme. You know what? I'm going to go with Under Siege. I think Under Siege is the best action film from America of that year. It is a Die Hard ripoff, yes, but it is a damn good Die Hard ripoff by a very good director named Andrew Davis, who would actually a few years later do The Fugitive, which won a whole bunch of awards. Steven Seagal, of course. This is Steven Seagal's Die Hard on a boat. Tommy Lee Jones plays a great villain. Great knife fight at the end of this film between Jones and Seagal. Gary Busey, Cole Meany, Damian Chapa. Good cast. Great Die Hard ripoff. Yes, it's a Die Hard ripoff, but it does so many things right. The action's great. The gunplay, the martial arts, the explosions, everything is so good in this movie. So that'll be my pick for US 1992. Hard Boiled, well, also Full Contact, which is, I love Full Contact. This is a Ringo Lam film with Chow Yun-fat, Simon Yam. Simon Yam plays a flamboyantly gay villain in this movie named Judge, but it's handled so well, so funny. It has some lines in it that will make you laugh. Anthony Wong, Frankie Chin, Chow Yun-fat is cooler than ever in Full Contact. God, such an awesome film, but it certainly does not surpass the greatest action film of all time, quite possibly, and that is Hard Boiled. Hard Boiled. One of the greatest of all time. Don't really even have to go into it much. This has some of the best action set pieces in any action film ever, written and directed and choreographed by John Woo, Tony Leung, Chow Yun-fat, Anthony Wong, Philip Kwok, one of the old Venoms, Philip Chan, Stephen Tung, just Teresa Mo. One of the greatest action films of all time. A cop who loses his partner in a shootout with gun smugglers goes on a mission to catch them. In order to get closer to the leaders of the ring, he joins forces with an undercover cop who's working as a gangster hitman. They use all means of excessive force to find them. Guys, what can be said? This is one of the best action films of all time. This is Chow Yun-fat, absolutely in his prime as Tequila. Can't go wrong with Hard Boiled. Man, America wishes they had an action film that was as good as that. Moving to Japan. All right, yeah, so this wasn't thought out very well by me. I should have just done Hong Kong and America, because I haven't seen many Japanese films from from 1992. Oh, there you go. Well, I would consider Porco Rosso an action film. Definitely. There's action elements in it. So, okay, Porco Rosso is my favorite action film. And that's in line with the anime stuff from 1992. I love Porco Rosso. It's great. It's about a mysterious fighter pilot in Italy who is a pig, who wasn't always a pig. That's all I'll say. I don't want to say much about it. I don't want to give too much away, but it is it's a very, very heartfelt, very good film that kind of mixes in Japanese mythology with action, and it's a good movie. So check that out. But certainly for 1992, there's not even competition between Under Siege and Porco Rosso. It's going to go to Hong Kong. And I think that officially cements what my favorite country producing action films from 82 to 92 was. Maybe this was a foregone conclusion the whole time. But let's go back over it year by year, and then I'm going to call it a day for this stream, guys. I thank you so much for the people that have stuck in for this long. Thank you for the people who've dropped in and out, and to the people who are watching it for the first time as a pre-recorded kind of thing. Thank you guys for hanging in there. So let's do the tally. We've got, here, I'm going to write down on my phone the tally here. All right, so for 1982, we have 5 Element Ninjas. That's 1 for Hong Kong. '83, we have Japan actually pulling at least 1 out with Go-Go 13. Going to 1984, U.S. enters the ring with the Terminator. 85, Hong Kong gets another one with Police Story. Can't beat that. 1986 gets another Hong Kong. Better Tomorrow. I can't choose otherwise. 1987 gets The Predator. Late 80s is when the U.S. competes the most. 1988 gets Die Hard. So right now, at this point, Hong Kong and Japan Hong Kong and the U.S. are tied at 3 each, with Japan at 1. 1989, we've got Hong Kong coming back and pretty much staying back. Hong Kong, we have 4, The Killer for 1989. 1990, we have Total Recall. So that's U.S. Neck and neck, Hong Kong and U.S., 4 each. Japan still hanging in at 1. 1991, we have Hong Kong at 5, with Operation Condor slightly beating out Terminator 2, which is controversial to say the least, and Hard Boiled in 1992, which puts Hong Kong out in front by 2 movies. So Hong Kong, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hong Kong, 6 movies. Japan, 1. The U.S., 4 from the period of 1982 to 1992. It is true, Hong Kong was really on top of action cinema, really throughout the 70s and the 80s. And this list proves that. Obviously, it's just my opinion. But these are the type of movies that I gravitate towards. I love Hong Kong cinema. The more I watch, the more I fall in love with it. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this weird video of, let me go to my watch list. You guys get a preview of what I'm looking at to watch. It's always so eclectic, so strange, all over the place. But Gungchi, cheers, I enjoy that. Makes me want to revisit a bunch of action movies. Absolutely, that was the reason that I did this. Happy Shawtember, 5 Element Ninjas, absolutely. I hope you guys found some new action films to take a look at. You know, I tried to mention as many as I could so you guys could write down or add to your watch list some of the stuff that maybe you haven't seen or even heard of. I feel like I need to rewatch Total Recall now. It's always a good time to rewatch Total Recall, one of the greats of all time. So, guys, we clocked in at around 2 hours. Thank you again to everybody who stuck in there with me. Anybody who popped in and out, anybody who just popped in, feel free to go back and watch the entire stream. It's kind of dead for the first 5 minutes or so while people are strolling in, so feel free to kind of skip ahead. I'll edit it out if I can. But thank you guys so much for checking this out. I'm going to try to do more live streams, especially if the response on this one is good. I've got some video ideas, some other cool video ideas to do. some videos like this. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm gonna chill out, watch some movies for today. Enjoy your Labor Day. I hope you guys got it off, and I know I did. I'm enjoying my day off here, so I'm gonna play some games, watch some movies, chill out. You guys take it easy. I will see you all next time. Bored Cyborg is outie. What a